ashes melted back to life. Done my time and served my sentence. Dress me up and watch me die. If it feels good, tastes good, it must be mine. Dynasty decapitated, you just might see a ghost tonight. And if you don't know now, you know. I'm taking back the crown. I'm all dressed up and naked. I'm seeing what's mine and taken. Oh, yeah, the crown.
Oh, yeah, that intro will wake you up something fierce on there. If it doesn't, there's something wrong with you. All right, so we're here with hell of a show. We've got a hell of a guest on here we'll be getting to here very shortly. Before we get started, everyone watching this will please go ahead and like and share the video and make sure it's going out there. And go to my YouTube, DemoNation Sensation. The link is in the feed, always in the feed. Go over there and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these shows. That being said, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We're going to get a guest on here that I actually have not had on any of my shows in the 3 years that I've been doing this as of yet. So this is going to be an interesting show tonight. I've been looking forward to this, and we're going to delve right into this with my guest tonight, Mike Tenner of Bad Bug Media.
Hey, hey, hey.
What's up, Mike?
Oh, you know, making comics never ends.
And that's something we're definitely going to be talking about, because on your end, it definitely looks like it has no end on there. I definitely have some questions going along with that. But before we get started, sure, go ahead and let everybody know that's out there. If they don't know who you are, go ahead and give them the elevator pitch. You know, who is Mike Tenner, where to find you, and what you do.
Wow. So I'm an indie comic creator, but I have started to create a network of other creators who make stories underneath our publishing brand, Bad Bug, and I'm the creative director for that. So, ta-da! Okay. I can tell you my sign. I can tell you my blood type. I'll tell you as much as you want. How deep you want to go, Phil?
We asked for credit cards and Social Securities later on in the show, but that's okay. It's strictly for science-ish stuff.
But I've been making comics. I guess I could throw that in too. I've been making comics for about 6 years, 5 or 6 years now. So
really, that's all you've been doing for 5 or 6 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Because before we get involved in all the questions and stuff like that, one thing that I've noticed is the professionalism that you have, you know, in your business. You should do this. But it's the way that you not only put the product out there and it's ooh and ah and everybody wants to buy it, you are so keen on making sure that it's what the fans want. It's not something just thrown out there randomly. You're actually kind of, you know, getting the pulse of the crowd out there. And that's not something you see from some of the newer guys that are out there. I commend you on that one right off the bat.
Thank you. I feel like that's just been a lot of happy accidents. You know, like we sit around and we come up with ideas and then we shoot things back and forth and we ask ourselves what we'd want to see. So that's usually whenever you see us put out a new book, it's because we all were like sitting around saying, yeah, that's badass. That's totally, let's do that. That's badass. You know,
exactly.
So it ends up landing with a good group of people. So that's, you know, we're lucky, we're fortunate.
Now, you've already kind of mentioned about having the group that you work with, you know, underneath your label that does this. How many people do you have? How many branches, should I say, that you have underneath you right now?
That's a really good question. So we've just talked about having role assignments and stuff. Like before this, it was just all of us giving input where it needed. Now that there is more of a workload, we're starting to like split that up. So we've got 2 divisions to the brand. One is the mature and erotica, and then one is our like straight, like main line. Most retailers would carry this kind of book line too. So by doing that, we need someone to oversee one side instead of overseeing both sides. So I'm gonna pick a guy out of the group they're going to interview for it. They're going to tell me what they would do with the mainline brand next year, because I'm going to focus on the mature and erotica brand because that one's been growing really fast.
Right.
And so I think that's probably where I need to spend my time, and then whoever takes over on the other side, they will have a better understanding of that material, because that's what we started making when we were first, coming into a brand, which was about a year and a half ago. Bad Bug was just like, all this horror, action, sci-fi, all that stuff. We've got writers, several creators. We have a marketing director. We have a lawyer. We have an accountant. We got all that stuff. But beyond that, it's just 14 people that are writers and creators all making books. And so our chat's just those 14 people bantering back and forth and sharing ideas and supporting each other.
I'm not seeing a negative in all of this. I mean, it sounds like it'd be a great place to work and have some fun. And yeah, I'm sure there are opinions that are out there that people are like, no, that's not going to work. And then you have to kind of discuss around it and everything, but it's still fun in the end, because the end result that's coming out is amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And it's not for a lack of effort on everybody's part. I think we've all grown together, which has been really helpful in escalating, I guess, how quickly we grow. So there's more feedback involved with more people. So that seems to really help us with quality control and reeling each other back in when we get too far out there. And it's been a great experience just working this closely with that many people.
And how long have you been working within this group and kind of moving around as a cohesive unit right now?
Well, we started with just 4 of us, and obviously I was in the beginning, I was really leading the ship there. I was at the helm, but as time went on, there was so many other really, really great ideas that formed about what we could be doing as a publisher that might be unique and attractive to other creators on the same level as us. And that wasn't an idea that formed overnight. We just kind of learned from mistakes and figured out, what's going to motivate others, what's going to compel people to associate with us and be a part of us. And I think we all did our part to help build the brand what it is today. And it's been it's a positive experience, really. Mostly, we've had people that we brought in and it didn't work out, and they left, and they went on to better things. I had one recently, and that's okay. You have turnover on stuff like this all the time. But it's great to be able to work with people and start thinking about, like, if I was like a CEO or I was actually leading a company where you had a lot of employees, is really finding out what everyone's skill sets are. Right. And making sure you utilize them to those skill sets.
Excellent point. Yes. Yeah.
That's I'm in that phase right now. So that's, when you're asking about like how many departments we have and who's doing what, well, we're all talking about that right now because we don't want there to be utter chaos. So everybody's going to take a role, and we just got to figure out how much time they can dedicate to it. Because this isn't our main job. We're not making money off this. We really aren't. All of that money goes right back into making other comics, and we have day jobs. So any time that we devote to this, if you're a father, a husband, chances are you have a harder time dedicating a lot of time to helping here with this. So it's just a matter of finding what everybody's able to contribute, and that's what we're working on right now.
Excellent. Now, I'm sure somebody's making at least enough money to get a shark with a freaking laser on its freaking head. We have to do that at least.
We're hoping. I mean, some of our recent campaigns have done pretty well. So we've all joked about getting pools, or I don't think everyone else has. I think it's just been me joking about getting a pool, because everybody assumes that we're just going to take this money and go on vacation with it and spend it on these elaborate things. But it really just goes down to like paying off credit cards that we used to pay the artists and pay the creative team. So it's that money just keeps us out of debt. It doesn't really give us a net profit necessarily every time.
Well, always keep in mind, how the saying goes, always dress for the role that you want, not the role that you get. So there are green screens. You can go anywhere in the world and take any vacation you want at any time. So you can act like you're just, dollar bill, dollar bill, dollar bill after each campaign and just living the life. And people are going to look at you like, this is the greatest thing ever. I've got to be a part of this. I mean, you could start a whole trend with that.
You know what? That's a great idea. I'll be like an influencer, basically, right? But it's a
Exactly.
comic creator influencer. You'll get shot. See, really bad ideas here, Phil, because now it's just going to be a bunch of shots of my ass as I'm staring into the sunset. I'm going to be coming up out of the ocean seductively. You're going to see me in all these weird exercise poses. My Instagram's going to blow up.
The problem I see with that right off the bat is tan lines or no tan lines. That's the major thing that you got to, it's a 50-50 shot. Which one's going to pull the audience?
It's true.
One's going to pull them, one's going to torment them. You just don't know.
It's excellent.
Now, speaking of things that don't torment you, we've got some great books on the list here that I kind of wanted to go over because you had sent me some for background. And I've already let you know that some of these I've actually already backed and I have physical copies. They're just absolutely buried. And with my shoulder the way that it is, I can't unbury them very quickly. So I couldn't get them out for tonight. I apologize. But I even saw my name in at least one of these at the back. And that's pretty cool to see Demon Phil back there. So
that's great.
In going through the list here, I just want to kind of bring up Dead End Moon. I think it was one of the ones that introduced me to Bad Bug originally with everything. And then it just kind of, it was like a domino effect from there. It was like, okay, what else do you do? If Dead End Moon is this good and what's going on with this, I can tell you right now, if you're not familiar with their work, if you like horror, and I mean like old school horror, not, absolute gore, that kind of thing. Right. There's some of that in there, but it's not the main base for it. It's more of the, I'm trying to think of the old school magazines and things like that. It's got that feel to it.
Tales from the Crypt, pulp feeling in some ways.
Exactly.
We would describe it in, it's horror and science fiction, but it's not too heavy into either. It's just like a healthy in between.
Exactly.
And that's where we kind of want to play, because we don't want it to be just, shocking, expository gore, over right. Detailed and excessive, so we just kind of introduce supernatural elements or things that you would associate with horror, but without the necessity for, like a lot of people make horror and they feel obligated to be really gory and graphic and violent, but that's not all that horror is.
Well, and at the same time, there's a lot of them that take the horror element and automatically think, well, I'm not going to go gory, so I'm going to go completely comic, on this thing.
Yeah.
And it's either way, it's a slippery slope. You have to ride that line right down the middle, right. And this has that feel to it. Cool. You find yourself, it's a page turner. I mean, of course, I had the PDF, so I wasn't like flipping my monitor, but I was at least exactly. I was scrolling. So I was going through it, and the storyline draws you in. The artwork kind of pulls you in the direction you need to go, but it's the feel of it. It actually has, for lack of a better term, it has a pulse. Whenever you're actually reading this thing, it's not just a story on paper with some cool looking pictures. There's a lot more that goes into this, and we'll kind of discuss on why I think that with this one and your other works as well, because of what you do. Because the next one that I backed was Midnight Highway, number 1. So now I got to see Midnight Highway number 2. But you did me kind of dirty on this one. You actually sent the 3Ds on here, and I was like, I've got to find some 3D glasses. I know I've got some packed around here somewhere.
That's the great thing about it is I'll hook you. I tell you what, when I send you that shirt, I'm going to send you the glasses too.
Oh man.
Yeah. We the 3D glasses thing was just so much fun to make those. And we did do the 3D effects, but it was just so much fun to have somebody that my wife knew that did 3D art as like it was kind of like a focus for them at the time. So we were like, wow, we need to make Midnight Highway in 3D. I mean, it's just very obvious we need to do that. And it turned out great. And at cons, people love stopping and looking at that. You see a lot of parents with their kids stopping by and be like, hey, you ever seen these before? So it's kind of like a cool thing for the parents to be able to share with their kids. Like, hey, we thought this was cool when we were kids.
And it's the perfect book for it. It just has the the lines for it. I don't know how to explain it exactly. It just kind of, it's not too much in your face where it'll actually give you a headache, because a lot of 3D ones will do that. This
Mhm.
is more of the, and even though it's horror based, I don't want to drown out on that one, because I'm telling you right now, it's more soothing in a horror way. I know that makes me sound like a psychotic. I'm really not ish,
Mhm.
but you know,
No,
it gives you
I'm
that
right there
feeling.
with you. Yeah, no, it's meant to be a beautiful horror book. You
Yes.
know, like
Okay.
that was
Yes. Exactly.
so that like we wanted it to be, ultraviolet, like really bright colors, neon, I guess is what I should be saying there, not ultraviolet, but really radiant colors and make you feel like you can hear the music when you're
Exactly.
looking through it. That was kind of one of the goals. So
And
yeah.
another thing that you look for is something that's unique, that is not in the same, because you don't want to, cookie cutter go through the same books and the same style of things that are in there that you're looking for. I'm gonna tell you right now, what you did to that deer, elk, whatever that thing was in there, I'm still going to therapy for that one. That was
Really, were you like that? That was
awesome.
awesome. Okay.
That
That's
was
great to hear. We were really proud of that. It took us a long time to get there, with that idea. And it was so funny because I don't want to give anything away for anybody that hasn't read that might
right.
plan to read it, but John Carpenter is a huge influence of ours, and we loved Alex Medea and I were co-writers on that one. And everything that we were doing, we were like, does this feel like something we've experienced or watched in the 80s? We don't directly grab something from a film. Like we just
Right.
say, hey, does this feel like this belongs here? And so that's a very aggravating and agonizing process between Alex and I, because for everything that we agree on, there was 1,000 things that we disagreed on. So finally getting into the same lane and writing a script for Midnight Highway is a challenge every issue, but we're always glad with what we end up with because it feels like it's been thoroughly vetted. And the decision with the deer was one that took us no time to agree on. But
Yeah.
because like we were like, hey, we need a monster, okay. But we were like, well, we don't want to just have a monster and just says R and roar effects and all that stuff. So we needed to know what would be an unassuming or simple thing that people come across on the road. And for where I live, I'm in West Virginia. Deer is a huge problem.
Hmm.
I've killed 3 deer with vehicles.
Hmm.
Like I've like totaled 2 cars, and so
Hmm.
and listen, it happens a lot in our area. So that we decided to go with that. Start with that little creature right there, very unassuming, and then what it evolves into, obviously, just read it. But we can tell you that you'll know that it was a John Carpenter influence
Oh yes.
once you see it. So
And now that you mention that, I can definitely agree with that exact. Yeah, that's the exact feeling that I had, but I couldn't place it,
yeah,
which made it even better because it's something you don't see again.
right.
And for those that are watching this, I'm telling you right now, it's taking something that's as simple as a deer. I mean, to absolutely distort Bambi's mother. Let's just go ahead and put it that way. That's pretty much what we're doing in this. Is what
Lots of
happens in
full
this,
body horror.
but
We
to an
we we
nth level.
the like that's the thing. Like when we were putting the book together, the letterer came up with the way the deer was going to sound,
Mhm.
because like I said, we wanted to avoid some things that you would commonly expect. So the letterer contributed to the idea of the creature talking.
Mhm.
So, and we were like, oh my gosh, that's yeah, because we're like trying to imagine what that would sound like, what that creature would sound like, and
Right.
we have no idea. So his lettering really helped give it color and texture. But even still, when we look at it, we're trying to imagine what the voice is for that creature, and we still have a hard time with it.
Yes.
At least that text does a good job of getting it across.
Oh, it
So
does. I mean, and it screams off of the page because it changes. Everything changes.
yeah,
Whenever the the distortion of that character happens, then everything changes in the next couple of pages on there, and it is. It is wicked. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's
Thanks, man. We're really proud of that book. So
I mean,
it's nice
I own
whenever
a
we
lot
really
of
do.
horror books, and that is one that I definitely like to just go ahead and open up and go, wow, it can still be done. I mean, it's just one of those things that you go, you know, you put your mind to it and it can happen.
Yeah.
To whereas some of these other ones that are just thrown out there so quickly, even with the, you know, the big two, there's some of their stuff that I read that I'm like, not feeling it. There's no pulse. There's nothing there. But I open this one up and I'm like, got that thing going again. Yes, let's get going with the day.
Got a nice hit of it.
There you go. Well, I mean,
Appreciate
you
that.
mentioned about the letterer, so I want to go ahead and segue straight into the third book that I had gotten, which is His Name is Wrath.
Yeah.
There's a reason that I bring up the letterer on that one, especially. For one thing, I'm going to tell you right now, whenever that came out on Kickstarter, my initial reaction to that, all I could see was anger from inside out in a mechanized form. That's what I thought it was going to be from just the
Oh,
title.
got it. Nice.
His name is Wrath, and I thought it was going to be anger from inside out, and I was like, how are they going to do this? And what you showed on the Kickstarter doesn't give it justice for what is actually in the storyline.
Right. Right.
And that brings up what I wanted to say about the lettering on there. You said, of course, with the distorted deer over there, that it had to have the dialogue changed for it, you know,
Right.
what it sounded like. So whenever you've got robots fighting, how do you make it seem realistic? How do you make it where I can actually hear the clanking of metal, the clicking of the missiles getting ready to fire? I mean, how do you do that? I read through that thing a couple of times going, how is this possible? It's like you took a couple of Coke cans or something and went clanking them together and tried to figure out the exact sound and then put it on there.
Well, I think I'll give that to Dave, the letterer, on a lot of our books because Dave does so much lettering. I feel like sound effects. I feel like he's probably got like a legend somewhere where just like, hey, if this happens, this is what sounds you can use, or this is how you would type this out. So there, when I didn't know what kind of sound I wanted, I would just put in captions, Dave help, and say, Dave help, this needs to sound like metal clanging against metal, or you know, I need little sounds from like insectoid kind of looking bots. I need to know what kind of sounds we need to focus on there. So you know, he was very helpful. He's been a huge asset to the quality of, or upholding the quality of the books, because we've seen a lot of great books get destroyed by a subpar letterer. And you know, for him, you know, Dave's an artisan. He's just one of the frontline, just best in class letterers out there. And so you'll see his name all over our books and all of our works. So I would give him mad props for that.
Oh, definitely. That is, it was just one of those things. Sometimes it's the little nuances that people overlook. They're like, I've got a great story, and they run with it, but the artwork doesn't show up too well, or something like that, right. Or the lettering, or the dialogue is not quite where it needs to be, you know, with the following the story. Following up with those little bitty details that are on there, they may seem like absolutely nothing to most people, but the true collectors and true readers, especially the readers, believe it or not, guys, there's actually pages in between the covers. I just want to throw that out there. We're breaking that myth tonight. There's actually pages in between those covers. But for the readers that are out there, they pay attention to those little things that are out there. And even if they don't pay that much attention, it just gives it that much more focus to the overall story in general. And you nailed it with His Name is Wrath.
Oh, well, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I thought I'd lost you at the beginning because you're like, hey, what I'm envisioning is just like this embodiment of anger and rage. And in the back of my head, as you're saying that, I'm like, oh, I should have went that way with it. You know, like, oh man, I went the wrong path with this story. But yeah, no, good. I'm glad that you liked it.
No, and I like the way that you went with. It's not over the top. It kind of does what it needs to, and then it moves on to, you know, the next storyline that's going to be coming out. It doesn't have it's not one of those things where it just kind of hangs around for no reason and you're kind of looking at the page going, well, that was a great battle and everything, but why are you still here?
Right. We left that one in the first issue. So what we do is we treat the first issue as a pilot episode for a series. If the response isn't really strong, what we will do is it won't be fast tracked for number 2. but we will commit to completing the story. We don't want to be someone that, you know, creates a bunch of number ones and then doesn't follow up anything. But it does help us prioritize the next calendar year as far as what we should fast track and focus on, so that we keep up a momentum that we're looking for. Hey, Jack, that's my dog. As I can see myself on the screen, so I'm like, oh man, get over here. But anyway, you know, Wrath was one where we didn't really know where the response was because we only offered it as an add-on for all our campaigns. Like, there's no other way to get that book. Like, you have to back certain campaigns where we offer those issues on it. So we and I did that because I wanted it to feel very exclusive to our supporters.
Yes.
And so it's just, we've treated Wrath that way. But, you know, the way that first issue ends, I got off on a tangent there, but the way that first issue ends, it's just got a nice little crescendo to it, because we were like, hey, we don't know how the response is going to be to this, since we're not running a campaign for it and it's only available as an add-on. So if we feel like this is a one-shot, we can treat it as such. But in writing issue 2, and we're just starting issue 3, the story is going to a really interesting place that I think will have an unintentional, heartfelt resolution, and it's going to open the world up for more. So I'm pretty excited for this one, and the art's just gotten exponentially better from issue 1 to what I'm seeing on issue 3. We've in terms of the quality of the book, it's all escalated. So I'm really proud to see what's been coming back so far.
I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that and continuing on that one. Some of the other ones that you have on here, of course, you have more recently you had Ragnarok that came out. That was a fun one. That was if you like music, I mean, just in general music, this thing kind of, and that's what I found was odd about it. It's rock, of course, metal, that kind of thing. But it appeals to those who listen to music and why you listen to music and what's there, and then kind of evolution from there. Like I said, I don't want to give spoilers on all these things, but it has to do with Norse mythology and, you know, the rock music, and the fact that it has to evolve because it was so bad at one point, so it has to figure out a way to get better.
Yeah.
There are a lot of elements. There are a lot of moving pieces in here, which normally you would look at going, I've got Norse mythology, that could be a book. I've got rock and roll and metal, that could be a book.
Yeah.
How is all this fitting together? That's what you look at, but then you finish it off at the end and you're like, oh, that was nice.
You know, that's another example of us doing a pilot on a book because we weren't sure how the response would be. And that was Dave, our letterer that I brought up earlier. That was his idea. Like, that book, he had this concept for Ragnarok. It wasn't even called Ragnarok at the time. It was called I can't remember, but he brought it up to me. He's like, hey man, I've brought this up to a few other people and they didn't seem want to do it. So he shared the idea with me, and I was laughing, like, why would they not want to do this? This sounds awesome. But what we did is, when we worked together on creating the script for it, we it changed some from what it originally set out to be to where it evolved. And it's okay. I'm proud to share everybody like the core concept of the story. So I'll give you the elevator pitch. Okay. And we always seem to get a great chuckle out of this when we're at cons. So, you know, Ragnarok is about an Asgardian rock band that got kicked out of Asgard because their music sucks. And so now they're on Earth, and they're extremely famous. And so Asgard's taken notice to this, because there is this great disease that's sweeping across all the 9 realms called the Great Bummer. And for whatever reason, Ragnarok has brought back the life and power of rock and roll to a dismal realm like Midgard. Well, let's have them go on tour across the 9 realms and restore the vitality and the passion that only rock music can create. All right, so it's a celebration of rock. That's the series, and you know, every realm's going to be very different. So there's a nice nice change up of scenery. We are loosely devoted to Norse mythology. We take extreme liberties. Jormungandr, I call him Jormungandr, it's easier for me, is the bass player. It's the world serpent. So
Right.
and he loves drugs. Like, he's got a drug problem. So like every realm they go to, Jor's out there looking for, like, what do people get high on this in this realm? Like, what drugs you got here? And that's his main goal, is just to find the new high. So like every character's got little, personality flaws, and you don't necessarily get to see that all right away in issue 1, since there's so much information that we need to get across. But you'll see that develop as the series goes on, and we absolutely will let you see our version of Thor and Loki and all those people. And you do get to see our version of Odin, which is
Yes.
yeah, he's a super dude. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Almost.
we're proud of that one.
Yeah, it's a very lighthearted, fun. I mean, you said the Great Bummer is the bad guy in this thing. Come on. Out of all the names that are out there and everything, that is phenomenal. I mean, it's like you go across and they're like, the worst thing that could possibly happen in the 9 realms, the Great Bummer is it. And it's like, I'm sorry, did I read that correctly? That is great.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't sold unless we thought something was genuinely funny. And so we knew that there'd be a right audience for that would think it was just as funny as we did. Even the little things in there, like, I'm a musician, so that kind of helped, and Dave is too. So we had both played in metal bands and stuff, so we kind of carry that history with us, that experience of like
Nice.
doing like small local tours, or going to big shows and opening for big bands, and all these different little things that are kind of like the rock star life. But anyway, we I think with some of the I lost what I was going to say. But basically, it influenced some of the jokes. Like, one of the jokes was they were getting pelted by all the Asgardians because they just got done playing some music, right? And everybody's like booing them, throwing fruit at them and stuff. And the guitarist is thoughtfully thinking off to the side, and he's like, "Did I tune my guitar?"
Yeah.
And then, oh crap, I forgot to tune my guitar. So it's little like that's the kind of stuff that would happen to us, like after shows. Like, man, that sounded like butt. Oh, I didn't tune my guitar. So we put in little jokes in there that we think that musicians will appreciate, and
Absolutely.
we had fun with that one. I could talk about it all night.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to bring up too, is there's still more on just this list that I have that we could talk about. But I want to tell everybody right now, they need to go to your website, is where they can look up some of this stuff too, correct? Which is what, badbugmedia.com, or what is it?
Yeah, that's it. Badbugmedia.com. And I'll go ahead and apologize to anybody that goes there. It is under construction. It's functioning. You can go in there and buy stuff. It's not in its final form yet. I'll just say that about it. So not our entire library is on there. Our mature and erotica line is not available on the website right now.
Right.
Because we want to have an age verification system.
Right.
So unfortunately, there's no way we're not that technically savvy yet. So we got to work on that.
Now, it's funny that you kind of bring up about the age verification, because again, it's like you're in my head rolling around in there, and that's a dangerous place to be in there, because it gets right into these segues. But we've got a couple of projects that we were going to talk about that are going on right now. You've got one. No, actually, you have two that are current right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you have, let me see. Why do I not have the other Kickstarter on here? That's okay. I'll have all the feeds. All the links will be embedded in the feeds.
I probably forgot to give you the one for She Brings the Devil, because it's been out for about a week and a half. So it's in the dry season. So
that was the one that came out first. That's been out, like you said, for about a week.
Right. About a week and a half now. It launched last Tuesday. So we're seeing pretty good response. It's funded. Ryan's a great writer. He came up with the concept and agreed to slap our label on the front. So, but that is a Ryan Cummins project through and through, and our team's done a really great job on that book as well. So,
it looks interesting, like it catches your attention aesthetically, but the story, that's where I'm like, oh, I have to be here. So I'm a backer. I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm on there.
Awesome.
It's
Ryan, what I don't know what Ryan's got planned. Ryan keeps everything close to the chest, I guess is the right way to phrase that. Like he does not. It's so funny with him because we've been friends for years, and he thinks that I am just a reader like everybody else and treats me that way. So when I ask him things and he doesn't want to answer it, he just responds with emojis and stuff and then just toys with me. And I'm like, come on, man, just tell me what it is. But he doesn't reveal secrets, so that keeps me intrigued as well. But the things that I do know, the core storyline elements, some of those things I do know very well. It's going to be a very interesting book with a lot of shock. It's bold, it's extreme, and that's where the Lovecraftian influence really kicks in. Is it really dives into cosmic horror in unique ways, and the way that it integrates Sexton with that is really unique as well. And I think that adds another layer of just unsettling. Like it's just an unsettling book. So I'm excited for people to see it. It's a unique one.
Well, that one's out there, been out there for about a week. And if you think that one's good, you get on there and you're backing that one and you're like, wait a minute, Bad Bug Media's got some pretty cool stuff. Let me go ahead and tell you right now. And it's just like an infomercial right now. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Because we have this one right here that you have been kind of showing off the cover. Just the cover alone is like, I got to know what's going on with this. This is just, you didn't tell us a thing about it. You slap the cover out there and say, this is a project we'll be having, in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And there it is. And everybody's over there going, hello, is this thing open? Is it on?
it like something to say about Flickering Lights is that the writer, Jason Pell, the creator writer, this is entirely his concept. A lot of times I'll have an idea and then I throw it out to the group and I ask him, which one of you wants to write this? But Jason is all in-house. He comes up with the concept. He's the kind of writer that kind of escapes into the woods and goes and lives in a cabin and, really absorbs himself in the story. He's like that. So, and he did that with this one. It's a very thoughtful, reflective story that integrates the claustrophobia and isolation of space and somehow uses that to explain the human condition and the need to pursue something that just escapes or saves you from loneliness, which, in this case are these siren-like creatures that are just illuminating lights, like these bright lights that take the form of humans and basically try to lure you out into space. Yes. And so it's got the horror, like that's there. There's some really shocking, scenes in this story, but it's all told so poetically. It really feels like a work of art. And there's been some fantastic covers that have been made on this campaign, and we love showing those off. But we don't have a name for the beings. I just call them sirens because that's just how I make that kind of connection, because they're they're lores. And exactly. Some of the illustrations of them have just been really phenomenal. So
as soon as I you see the cover, you don't know anything about it, and then you finally get a chance to kind of read, like you gave the topical story of it that we've got. Immediately, Event Horizon is the feeling that I get from it.
Yeah, there you go. So we're dancing around that. Okay, we're dancing around that a good bit.
Nice. So definitely looking forward to that. Again, I am a backer on that one as well, so I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks for supporting us, dude.
I
appreciate it.
Support everyone that's out there, but I'm finding out that there are very few, publishers that I'll actually, pretty much everything that they come out with is right down my playing field. And if that's the case, then those are the ones that I'm going to go ahead and support financially. Now, to remind everybody that's out there, you can't support everything financially unless you're just Daddy Warbucks and everything. And if you are, just want to give away some money, he needs to sell some comics. I need to eat some stuff every once in a while and keep the lights on. There's things you could do. But it costs absolutely nothing to use the power of that finger, the correct one, and hit that share button. And that's all you have to do. It costs you nothing, not even but a little bit of time on there to share it out. If it's not your thing, if you just don't have the money, whatever the case may be, there is no judgment on there. But seriously, all you have to do is share it out, because you never know who's in your network that would go ahead and get it, and so on and so forth. It's a domino effect that happens. So keep that in mind. Make sure you keep those shares going on everything that you've got out there. And if you're a backer already and you've already physically backed it or digitally, share it anyway. The more shares it gets, the more exposure it gets, and the more people will know what they're producing out here and what they're building, because this is just the beginning. Because the next thing that I want to discuss is, I have seen a couple of your posts and I'm just looking at it, shaking my head going, how is this possible? You would put it first. You would put, okay, here comes, She Brings the Devil. Here comes, the flickering lights. And then you put this next post up there and you're like, and in October, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 6 of them that will be running simultaneously, is what it looks like, or at least overlapping.
Yeah.
That is yeah.
Cool. That's the highest compliment you can give us, is if we blew your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
I mean, you can if you can spell that, let Dave take care of it. He'll do it.
there you go. It lined up that way, is what it was, because this summer it was like just me running campaigns for erotica properties, and then everybody had something ready for the fall. And so we did a census one day in the group, and we were like, oh God, we've got like 6 books coming out in the next few months. So it was like the first moment that we were all looking up and looking at each other like, oh, we have a release schedule now, we have to coordinate a little bit. So that was fun, obviously. And then the October projects, maybe I'll come back on and talk about with you, and we can cover those. But I am excited for those. Grandma Chainsaw.
The name alone. Well, I'm sorry, Grandma Chainsaw.
It's so good. That one launches next week, so that one's going to hit in between September and October. So we're going to be able to capture that Halloween crowd, dude. So Alan Dunford is a good friend of mine from just years and years past. He lives in Beckley, West Virginia with me. We played in a band together. We're pretty close guys. Will Radford is someone that I also knew for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so Alan and Will came up with a comic called Pocus Hocus that was through Bad Bug. Well, Source Point has that now. So this book will probably end up with Source Point too, but it starts with us always. Like, all this stuff starts with us. But Grandma Chainsaw is one that we're super excited about because, well, the name says it all. It really is a slasher. It's faithful to that, except it's a demon possessed grandmother, and it doesn't shy away from it. It delivers on what you expect. It does. It gives you exactly what you want, and that's the important thing for us when it comes to how we write and how we do things. We want to entertain. That's just a very entertaining book.
And you bring up that point right there, because again, I said it at the very beginning of the show, and you just made full circle on that, where you're not just throwing material out there, you're paying attention to what the fans are going, ooh, I like this, I don't like this, I want to change this. If I had this character, that I could do this over here. You're listening on there. It's not that you always will adapt to what's going on out there, but you'll do what's best for the overall fan base that's out there. So the things that you're putting out there are hitting every single time they're out there. I'm not seeing anything that's coming out there that's actually not hitting.
Yeah. Well, we hope to keep that streak. Like we've been fortunate to have a winning record. It feels like right now, so we're just going to try to stay, engaged with that. And by that I mean really just kind of reinforce each other to continue to get better. We kind of we don't want to rest on any successes that we have, because that could be the moment that we slow down. So it really is just focusing ahead always. I appreciate you saying all that. It's nice to be able to say, I could thank all the guys in Bad Bug right now. I could go to starting with Scott, Alan, Dave, Bill, Chris, Ryan, John, Jason, Anthony, Alice, my wife, Summer, Danny. I could keep going on. All you guys are awesome. Y'all have helped. So it's nice to be able to get on here and talk about all these other projects, and they're not all mine. Like I get to brag about other people, and it's really nice. It's really
Exactly.
nice.
Now, real quick before I get to the last question on here, I just want to ask: is one of those names you just gave on there? Is that one of those guys that doesn't like watching '80s movies? I'm just curious.
Oh no, Bill. That's Bill. We have fallen off with that. We have talked about getting him back on the horse with that. The list is so long, right? There's just it's so funny because the conversations to this day, our group chat is just but anyway, all it is like, hey Bill, did you ever see this? No. Like, and it makes us irate. It's like he's never watched anything.
Okay, Big Trouble in Little China. Has anybody ever never seen it? And the raise of hands right now would be, yeah, that's none that I'm seeing. None.
Well, that's that's my favorite movie. All right, so
Exactly.
It's my favorite movie. But it didn't do well in theaters. It wasn't like a big hit then. It grew a cult following over time. The funny thing about Bill is that he grew up in a really strict home. I did too when I was young. In some ways, it was strange. But Bill just missed out on all the good stuff from the 80s. And he was a 90s baby, so it's kind of fair. But it blows our minds, though, that he just never decided to go back and watch any of these. I mean, 80s culture right now is still very popular. Like,
exactly.
It's the thing. So how have you avoided this, or just absolutely just purposely avoided it, So,
well, and because they're also going back, because we're right in that time period where they're going back and trying to remake some of these. So if you haven't seen them the first time, you have no idea what's coming about with all of this, and why those of us that are sitting out here are going, oh no, I'm upset. You can't redo this one. You have to leave this one alone.
Well, there's somebody that probably feels that way about The Thing, right? John Carpenter's The Thing wasn't the first one. So, but for me, it's the only one. So, but it came out a few years before I was born, so it was closer to me. Right. So I never decided to go back to the one that they made in like the 60s or 50s, I think is what it was. And so it's just a cultural thing. It's just a generational thing. So it's fun to sit Bill down, make him watch 2 hits from the 80s, get an honest opinion on those movies if they hold up today. And it's so fun to get that perspective from him. Although most of the time we want to hit him whenever he's expressing his opinions on things. Like he's like a wrestling heel, like it's just like he's like booing us and egging us on. He's really trying to piss us off.
I've been on a couple of your episodes with that and just laughing over there so much because he's it's
funny.
Great.
He has a funny response to a lot of things. You don't get to catch it all on the show. It's just that he's got great one-liners. He's constantly just I hope one day I'd like to be able to like just publish our Bad Bug chat and just show everyone what kind of conversations we've had. I feel like it would be entertaining to some. So it's a thought. It's a thought. But Bill is definitely one of the superstars in that chat. He seems to always win.
Well, I got to ask you, one of the final questions that I want to ask before we get into closing on this is, if you had one piece of advice that you figured out throughout all of this moving through here that you could give to a new creator or a new publisher or whatever you want to, decide on that, what would that advice be?
Be humble. And don't be prideful. So I'm not going to say ego and arrogant. That's fine to be arrogant. Like if you have what you need to back it up, you can be arrogant. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess, in some ways. But being humble and knowing that you're not perfect and being able to accept that about yourself. And then also making sure that you don't worry about your pride, don't worry about your ego when it comes to getting advice or feedback from others. Make sure you ask for feedback and really push people to be honest with you. Friends are going to tell you your book's great. All right. Your family, it doesn't matter what you do. They're proud of you. Okay. So you need to find people that you identify as honest and not as conscious or concerned about your feelings,
Right.
and let those people read the book and give you an honest opinion so that they don't feel like they can basically, tear the Band-Aid off and be honest with you in a way that friends won't be, because friends have to deal with you after, like the fallout of them being honest with you. So getting strangers to do it for you is very important. Please make sure you do that, because we learn more from that than we have anything else.
Very good. And it makes a lot of sense because it takes you out of your own wheelhouse. And let's say, like you said, an absent pair of eyes that wasn't there before that can go ahead and step in and look at it and maybe see something small that you missed, or see something that they're like, I just don't feel, the page turning on this one. There should have been something right here or something.
Right.
It could be something so small that you've looked at it so many times while you're building it, you just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else can catch that. So it's good that you have that you can actually reach out and, like you said, trust somebody to go ahead and give you the honest answers. If they just go ahead and tell you, I liked it, that's not there. I mean, that's just basically saying, I'm proud of you.
Right.
Earlier.
Right. Yeah. The guys, like, it's funny. The one thing that I love about the group, in Bad Bug, is we are very honest with each other, and we rib each other really hard. I mean, we go for the throat. We'll make fun of things about you. Like, it's a brutal chat. But but the truth is, like, we really do care about each other a lot. Like, you can tell. And I see a lot of just conversations that I'm not even involved in. I'm just reading. I'm an active listener at this point, or whatever, active reader. And they really do step. They get into uneasy waters sometimes, and just be honest with each other about, I just don't think this is working, and here's why. Right. And everything's they approach it so professionally and respectfully with each other. We're really spoiled, I think, as a group, that we've been able to find each other and create this kind of ecosystem. But the feedback thing it's helped us a lot. It made me see what I was doing wrong and what I could have been doing better. Saved myself time. I mean, I'm learning. Like, it's just we've grown together. It's been nice to see this. So,
man, that is great. Mike, I'm going to tell you, I certainly appreciate you being on here tonight and having the opportunity and the pleasure to actually talk to you a little bit tonight. I can definitely see where I'm going to want to bring you back on some other shows, especially whenever I do some of the topic centric shows that I want to do with some panels. I can see where I'd want to add you into that for a different viewpoint on there as well, if you'd be interested.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
And then definitely, with all of your stuff coming out in October, we will work on something. We will figure out something on that to do another show to go over those as well, and see what you've got going on, because I am very interested in that as well on my end personally.
Great. I would love to come back in October and talk about what we have going on.
We'll make it happen. I mean, I know the owner of the show, so I think I'm okay with that.
All right.
He can be a jerk at times, but it's okay. I'll talk him into it.
Yeah, he's been all right today. I don't know about next time. You might be a little harsher on me then, but that's okay. We developed a rapport, which was necessary first.
Exactly.
It's just like when you make new friends, right? You're very formal at first, and then like in 30 days, you're like, "Hey, asshole," you know, what's up?
Isn't that a term
So
of endearment, though? I thought that was an official term of endearment on Wikipedia.
it is a bad bug. I know that. It is there. We say a lot of things to each other.
Well, Mike,
So
I'm going to go ahead. Let me go ahead and give you one last chance to go ahead. I'm going to give you full screen on this one. If you'll go ahead and let them know who you are, where to find you, and what you do one more time. And then I'm going to put you backstage whenever you're done. If you want to wait back there until I'm done with the outro and the closing statements, and I'll be out there to talk to you here in just a moment if you can.
let's go. All right. So hey, everybody again. I'm Mike Tiener. I'm the creative director of Bad Bug Media, which is an independent comic book publisher company thing. And we have been around for about 1.5 years. We have writers all over the United States, artists all over the world working on our books. The best place to find us really is on social media. We have a website, though. I'll give you that first. It's badbugmedia.com. But if you want to interact with us, follow us at badbugmedia.substack.com. That's our newsletter. That's where we share all the, the most popular information that's going on right now. If we have a new campaign launching, or, we have a book that we're going to give out to everybody for free, you'll get that through the newsletter. So please go by there, and then find us on Facebook under Bad Bug Media. We're on Twitter, same thing, at Bad Bug Media. And Instagram, same thing. Bad Bug Makes Comics, actually, is what it's called on Instagram. So I had to correct myself there. But that's where you can find us. Thanks.
Very cool. Again, thank you. I'm going to put you backstage here, and I'll be back here shortly. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right. So we had Mike Tenner up here, Bad Bug Media. Had a great show talking to him. Now, if you have watched my shows in the past and you've watched them recently, nothing's really changed on the end of this, except for the fact that, I always have a closing statement. It always goes based on what I've learned throughout the show that I've had tonight. Nothing changes with this one. It's the same thing. So I had a thought that popped in my head while we were going along, which is pulse. I always come up with one word that I like to base it off of. So I actually kind of started this thing off where I talked about, that the books had a pulse to them, which is great. You actually pick up a book, you hold it in your hands, you can feel the weight of it in your hands, and that thing actually has a pulse. For every page you turn on there, it's like it's breathing to you. Don't get me wrong, it's not the the one that has the leather face with the open mouth and bites you and stuff. Like, totally different book. Don't open that one. Never do. But these other ones you open up, they have that where they actually invite you in. It's like life giving life at that time. The pulse. Now, the reason I want to kind of tie that in is because whenever Mike was talking about his group that he's got that works on all of these books and everything, they have a definitive pulse. He brought up immediately and said he loved the fact that he was able to go ahead and talk about other guys and not just himself. How many times have I said it on my shows? It's all about going ahead and getting as much exposure as you can for the industry and for everyone around you, and everybody will share that spotlight. That's the proof tonight. We've got one right there. So whenever I say waves of change, what do I always say about that? I always say if you throw a pebble into a pond, you get a ripple. You get enough rocks thrown into that pond, you get the waves of change. Well, this is showing how that works. You get that pulse with the people that you're working with. You get that rapport that you're actually working with them, and everybody has that respect nature going through, and everybody shares with everybody, and nobody is the hierarchy that has to have the final word per se. Everybody has a say-so in something in there. This is what you end up with. Do not sleep on what they're doing. Bad Bug Media is making a big push, and you're going to be a part of it. All you got to do is jump over there and see. Kickstarter links are embedded in the feeds, so don't worry about that. Wherever you're watching this, they will be embedded in the feed, as will the links that he gave at the end with the website and the Substack as well. I'll have those embedded as well. But keep in mind, watch these things to learn as well as enjoy yourself and relax. So what have you learned tonight? Think about that. Think about what pulse is out there that you're paying attention to, and see if you can go ahead and push them a little bit higher with just a share. that's a thought for tonight. So leaving that behind, I'm fixing to go ahead and hit the outro on here. Do not leave until it's over. Y'all already know. Until then, man, it's good to be back. Demon Phil, keep it into y'all.
Sockets, flip the switch and watch them run. Take it back, the crowd. I'm all dressed up and naked. I see what's mine and take it. Oh yeah, the crown. So close I can taste it. I see what's mine and take it.
Just a little public service announcement that Halloween comes before Christmas. Oh, I know, I pissed off the Karens. Get over it. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.